In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I was able to change the circumstances in my life. And by the end of this video, you are going to clearly understand how you can start to change your own circumstances. To give things a little more context, I want to share 3 different quotes from Neville Goddard as well as Dr. Joe Dispenza. The quotes I'm going to be sharing are the foundation for you to understand where the change of circumstances will actually come from. The first quote I want to share is from Neville Goddard, and that quote is, "The world is a mirror, forever reflecting what you are doing within yourself." This is where so many people go wrong, is because you look at your circumstances and you're wanting to wait for those circumstances before you start feeling any different in your inner world. And for me, 3 different areas of my life did not change until I really understood what Neville meant in this quote. And we're going to be getting into this a little bit later on. The next quote I want to share is from Dr. Joe Dispenza. And the quote is, "To change is an act greater than the familiar feelings of the memorized self." Another big thing you have to start understanding is that the you who's interacting and out in the world and potentially unconsciously and impulsively responding to your life, where a lot of change is actually created as you learn that there is a response, which we're going to be getting into in just a little bit. But it's important for you to know that we have a memorized self. I call it a habit self, the self we feel safe being. But when we're being, Dr. Joe describes that as thinking, feeling, and acting. When we are in a habit of doing that, we are only able to get a mirror back of that same level of being. So in order to create and experience any change, we're going to have to start acting greater than the impulse of that memorized self that feels that that's the only way we can be in the world. Okay, the third and last quote is from Neville, and that quote is, "A change of circumstance happens as a result of a change in your state of consciousness." Realize, just let this seep through your mind. A change of circumstances is not because you forced somebody else to do something, they acted differently, and then that's why the circumstances changed. Or you sat there and you imagined and you imagined and you imagined and you felt really bad and you really hoped it would change. The only way to actually change a circumstance is an inside game. So we've got mirrors, we've got breaking memorized self, and we've got the idea that we have to change our level of consciousness, our level of awareness, which I'm going to share with you the 3 key things you'll have to do in order to check each one of these quotes off for you to embody that. But if you're like me, it took me so long to understand, how do I get these practical ideas? They make sense. How do I actually implement them in my own life? How do I take them from an idea to apply them practically and understand when and how I can actually start breaking out and creating these changes in my inside world so I could see the changes in the outside world. So let's dive into that now. All right, I've created a brand new outline drawing. I don't know what you want to call it, but I'm trying to stream it so that you really understand where your power is and how you can actually start doing the inside work so you can get the different circumstances that you deserve. So let's get into it. All right, so we're going to back way up, so far back when you were a little kid, okay? So this is what happens early on. This is the adult, so the caretaker in your life who is responsible for your physical safety, okay? So you have to understand that as a kid, we idolize or kind of godify our caregiver, whoever it is that's supposed to take care of us, because we cannot do anything in the world, right? We cannot take care of ourselves. We're dependent. We don't know how the world works. We can't get money. We can't make food. So our literal survival. And what do we know about our subconscious? This is critical. Our subconscious is hyper vigilant of survival because we want to live. So we will find ourselves in situations which I would almost bet money, even though I haven't talked to you directly, potentially I can feel it, because this was my story. This was my experience. So we will stay in situations where our subconscious knows that we'll be safe, right? So this right here, this dynamic, even if it was painful, right? You could have had a helicopter parent. You could have had a parent who meant well, but they neglected you. They didn't meet your need when it came to emotional, psychological, those kind of things. So you developed distortions of yourself. Maybe this caretaker, if you ask for something, they shamed or blamed you. Don't you know we don't have money for that? How could you ask for that? Like, what's wrong with you? Don't you see I'm working so hard? Or maybe they were abusive. So how they treated you, your sweet, beautiful, wonderful young mind did not have the skills. None of us did. We didn't understand how the world worked. We didn't have a fully developed mind. So do you think that we'd be able to see this objectively? No. We could only see it subjectively. And since there's a power imbalance, we then developed beliefs as to why this happened. And again, you don't have to go back and remember the exact painful thing. You have the limiting beliefs, right? That's what this is right here. I don't even know if I spelled that right, but it's fine. Okay, we're going to go for it. But we have these ideas that we hold, and we hold them close to us, and we had an experience, and we put a meaning or a story as to why it happened. Do you think that in this dynamic, since we think as a young child that this person knows better, that maybe they're superior, that we take the fault, we take the blame if something goes wrong? Yes, and guess what? Oh, they treated me like that because I'm not good enough. There's a lot of construction going on. Can you hear? Oh, there's been like 10 construction trucks that have gone by, which is super rare. We're just flowing, just embracing it. Here we go. You know why? Because we're under construction. We're constructing a new you, a new self, a new level of perspective of yourself, which is ultimately, spoiler alert, how you open the door to the new reality. But we'll get there. Okay. So, maybe you had a caretaker who's always comparing you. Look at that kid. Why can't you get grades like that? Why can't you go do sports like that person? What? On and on and on. So you think, oh, okay, if I'm number one, if I get the good grade, then I'll qualify for love. And again, worthiness, it could be anything. You don't have to remember all of this because it's going to show up in your current day. But I want you to understand, this situation, we're not blaming or shaming the parent. They're a human. They had their own stuff. But we've got to understand your experience. So you've got to understand, okay, these beliefs right now, that is the lens of how you see reality. That's your level of conscious awareness of yourself. You can let that go. You can dissolve it. We'll get into that in just a second because I'm going to go through the 3 steps. This is just the overview. So because you have these limiting experiences, specifically, these come up huge with romantic relationships because it pushes on the wound the most. Can also come up in friendships, obviously money as well. It's how you relate to having those needs met. And you're going to reference the template until you get aware of it and you learn to step out of it. So currently, if you have circumstances, for me, I was able to change 3 different areas of my life. My athletic career, where I went from a failed college athlete to making a world championship team and representing the United States in Spain. I did this with my romantic dynamic where I kept getting people who were emotionally unavailable, emotionally unsure, and I kept chasing and trying to earn it. After doing what I'm going to show you, I broke free of that so that I was then able to attract people who are emotionally available, read situations differently, and break out of this endless suffering and anxiety. And as well as with money, where my pattern was just not enough. I would work, and it just never quite matched what I needed. And now I'm able to continue to grow, generate, and attract situations with money that I'm not having to just work so hard and struggle to make any money. It comes so much more naturally and it feels good to do. So, but before that, all I would do is see my reality through these limiting beliefs. So then you see your present moment, not as it is, right? You see it from where you've been. And since you see it this way, the interpretation gets altered or distorted. And then most likely you see no text and you say, oh, well, it's because I'm not good enough. That's why they're not texting me. That's why they're not interested. It's because I'm unworthy. Okay. And in my old dynamic, before I realized how to do this stuff, I was taught, and then I had a lot of experiences, and I took some deep breaths, which we're going to get to in a little bit. But basically, then I'd go to the old, and then it would just fortify those old beliefs. So that's why you keep repeating and finding the same old circumstances. So the first step that I want to share with you on how you can break free, so you can basically get out of these lenses of distortion. Those lenses are your level of consciousness. As you evolve your consciousness, your conscious awareness, your image you have of yourself, it will drastically change what you're able to perceive of. Because even though it could feel, there's no one out there, there's no one possibly that would love me, there's no opportunities, money's so far, I can't get it. You, outside your awareness, your perceptions, your subconscious is taking in millions and millions of pieces of information per second. Our perceptions block out. Okay, now it's raining really hard. Buckle up. So your subconscious blocks out. So it's like if I had horse blinders here, right? I could not see outside the window. I could not see there's a mirror on the wall. All I could see is that there's a camera in the room, right? There's so much more going on. But if my subconscious doesn't feel safe for me to see that, it will not perceive of it. So realize there's so many more opportunities. Another construction truck. The universe has got your back with the symbolism. But you have to start understanding, okay, just because I can't see it doesn't mean that opportunities aren't just around the bend. So the first thing I would recommend is for you to start dissolving those old beliefs, okay? How do you do that? You want to take your adult mind that's now fully developed, now has tons of life experience, and I want you to look not at this situation to judge the parent. I want you to see how you see yourself. You know, if at 6 years old you had a parent who was really critical and maybe shamed you if you got a B as opposed to an A, or maybe just was really rude to you, or they just didn't give you attention, and they, whatever the situation is for you, do you feel that a 6-year-old kid deserves that? Do you feel, what is your opinion of a 6-year-old? And especially if you have a niece or nephew or sibling or a neighborhood kid you've seen, or, you know, maybe you have a cousin who has a friend. Can you picture in your mind somebody in that childhood and the innocence and how they don't deserve any of that? The more you can start seeing that you really deserve love, that you deserve protection, that there was nothing that you were doing to create the adult to treat you that way, that you are enough now, that you are actually worthy, and that love it's never earned. The more and more you can see the old situations, don't relive them through your young mind. Start to understand, what is your opinion of a child being treated that way? The more you disagree with how you've been treated, the more you start to see and upgrade and dissolve those ideas and stories and meanings. When those stories and meanings start to get shaken, it then helps dissolve and make space for a new belief and a new view of yourself. So if you're looking for help on how you can do this in your own life, I'm still offering one-on-one sessions. For me to learn to do this, I needed help. I had a mentor. And currently I've worked with so many different people from all across the world to help take you step by step through this process so that you have a greater understanding and you can start creating these changes and see circumstances change in your own life. So if you're interested, click below, click that link. It'll take you to a form, fill it out, and I'm going to email you. But for step 2 now, what we're going to do is we've got to start showing up in the present moment in that new way. As Dr. Joe said, to take the action that's bigger, that's stronger than our memorized self. Now, for me, no text, right? I know I use this example all the time. But I would get so much anxiety about relationships. I'd be out having fun, but all I could think of is, are they still interested? Are they going to leave me? Did I do something wrong? Are we okay? So when something would happen where I didn't get a text, or maybe we're supposed to go out and they canceled plans, whatever, before I started changing my beliefs, the interpretation was, they're not texting because I'm not enough. I started seeing in all my insecurities, my anxiety, my comparison would start to come up, and I had to start listening to that. Be aware of the story. So step 2 is ABC. Okay. I'm aware of that old story that says that I'm not good enough. Okay. I'm staying in my body. I'm breathing to take all my energy back in. Do not try to reason on why this happened. Do not try to problem solve. The only thing that's going to happen in this moment, especially if you have a physiological response of fear, is you've got to bring it all back because you're moving into your limbic brain, your fight or flight, your survival. You lose half your IQ when you're in your limbic brain. So all we want to do, there's a third construction. Can you hear it? Can you hear the rumble? It's like so crazy because it's a very quiet street. So the fact that there's been like 10 construction trucks is just silly to me. I'm just having a good time over here. So for you in the moment, if that job doesn't come up, okay, I'm starting to hear that story that, yeah, I'm not good enough. I'll never have what I need. Okay, I'm not going to follow that rabbit trail because the rabbit trail goes to the old, which fortifies. So you've got to break this. We're breathing to stop this. Can you see that? Just say no. We do not want to go that path. So when you start thinking more and more and more and more and more and more, you're just going straight to the highway to hell. So what you want to do is breathe, breathe, breathe. That's kind of basically, it's going to take you from being in an ocean water where the wave is smashing and there's a storm. It's going to basically get you up on a boat. So yeah, you're still in a storm, but it's a lot easier to navigate and you don't feel like you're going to die. So in the moment of a new choice, which is what C means, a new choice, what do I need right now? Okay, for me, I needed to do something physical, go for a walk, breathing, calling myself out that this is jealousy. This is me self-abandoning. I have to break the pattern of self-abandonment in order for me to attract anybody who actually is available for me. I'm learning how to be emotionally available to myself. So doing this over and over and over, I created a new experience, started firing and wiring new circuitry, stopped firing and wiring. So started, these neural pathways started dying off and I started to see new opportunities and then I would step towards them. And over and over and over, that created tremendously different experiences in my life. Now, the third thing that is part of this that will create tremendous change in your life is to start to work on the image that you hold of yourself. That person, that version of you, right? Maybe it's about a romantic relationship. Maybe it's about money. What feelings would you have if you had that money? If that circumstances right now, you had a wish, you had a wand wish, a wish with a wand. If you had that and that circumstances showed up and it was happening, what end emotion would you experience? The more you can get clear on that, start understanding and realizing that's a need for you. That's going to come over here and complement that very well. But you don't want to define yourself through the circumstance. You want to understand what end emotion you'll get from it so you can take the focus straight to yourself. For me, consistency, for me, reliability and accountability are tremendous. And the new circumstances that I was creating were helping to bring and amplify that experience in my life. That's the fourth or fifth one. That one was hauling. Anyway, for those of you at home, we have to have like a truck ticker counter. But these are the three things, really starting to understand the old beliefs, why they're being created, starting to dissolve them, understanding what choices and what beliefs you're looking at the current moment, and starting to create space. These are all ways for you to shift and evolve your consciousness. Neville said that awareness is like a light. So we want to take light to the parts of ourselves that we've fragmented from. That's the shadows. We want to embrace them so we can show up in the world in our full self. Now, some of this, especially the last part, you could be asking, how in the world can I start to understand or feel something that I've not experienced yet? This next video right here is going to show you a deeper level of a practice that you can start using to really get clear on what you will be getting, how you can start to feel, how you can start curating and cultivating that experience and relationship with that version of you. So check it out right here. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all, and I will see you on the next one.